music, aside from playing the piano. Yes, I came to love opera. I'll say a word about that. That came from Caltech. There was no opera in my youth at Green Bay. There was a custom at Caltech which was kept secret from the freshmen, but the upperclassmen all knew about it. And remember, in those days there was no internet, no Wi-Fi. They literally wired from room to room in the student houses. People had a so-called sound system. It might have been a turntable and an amplifier. And they were all wired together. And on the first day of final exams at 7 o'clock in the morning, so loud you could hear it 2 blocks away, they played The Ride of the Valkyries from Wagner's opera. And that was to wake everybody up to go to their final exams. And people said they hated that music. I sort of liked it. So I went up to the local record shop to look for some music by this guy Wagner that I had never heard of. And the only thing they had was an album of 6 LPs of the entire opera Die Götterdämmerung. Actually, it's not D, it's just Götterdämmerung, but with Kirsten Flagstad, whom I also had never heard of. Well, I put that on and immediately loved that music and that voice. And then I started going to, there was no opera company in LA, but San Francisco Opera came to Los Angeles each year, and so I started going to those performances. I remember seeing Carmen there and things like that. And then going to Boston, there was a company there that played in gymnasiums and places. Trying to think of the name of the conductor, who was very well known. Anyway, and then finally New York. And so lifetime, I keep a little record. I'm up to something like 670 live opera performances in various places. When we go to Europe, I've been to opera in London, Paris, Naples, St. Petersburg, believe it or not, in Russia, but mostly here. And in the United States, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, San Diego. So yeah, I just love that kind of music. In terms of other things, you mentioned books. I mentioned going to Russia. We went to, after studying Russian in school, I kind of forgot about it. It was not that important to my research until 10 years ago. Gail and I decided to go to Russia as tourists. We booked one of these trips where you fly into Moscow and then take a boat ride on the Moscow River, the Volga River, the canals, and end up in St. Petersburg. And I remember flying into Sheremetyevo Airport and reading this huge sign on the roof in Cyrillic letters. Oh yeah, I remember that. I could read that. And sort of renewing my interest. And I'll mention a couple other things too. They told us these canals were dug by German war prisoners with hand tools. And you went through the locks and there were guards there with machine guns. It was all kind of scary. But the people that we talked to were wonderful. In Moscow, we saw the Kremlin Museum, the Pushkin Gallery, the Tretyakov Gallery. Oh, and I loved the Novodevichy Cemetery of all places. That's where many of the poets and musicians and political leaders are buried. And compared to any American cemetery, an American cemetery, there's just grass. There's hardly even a tree. In this place, it's all flowers, bushes, trees. It's a lovely park with headstones here and there. That was one. Anyway, so when I came back, I decided I'd always had an interest in War and Peace. I actually got a copy in Russian. Amazon will sell it to you. It's easy to find. I opened it up, and of course, the whole first page is in French, not Russian. Fortunately, Tolstoy provided a footnote where he translated the French into Russian so you could read it. And I couldn't, by then I had forgotten all I knew about Russian. I remembered the grammatical endings for some strange reason. And I got a dictionary and did about a page a day for a while. And after a couple of years, I got through the thing. So that's one interest I had. But other than that, sports, I'm interested in golf, baseball, follow the Yankees. When I was back in Green Bay, my dad loved sports, and we would go to Milwaukee a couple times every summer to see the Milwaukee Braves play, who are now in Atlanta. And they had some pretty famous players. Hank Aaron was there. We saw him play, the pitcher Warren Spahn, people like that. And again, I kind of forgot about baseball, except when we came to New York, Gail and I, mostly at her impetus, decided at some point we needed to have a place to go on weekends. And we bought a house upstate in Dutchess County. And Friday nights we would get in the car and drive up there, and we would listen to WQXR classical music on the radio until they started playing the same stuff over and over again and got rid of a lot of the programs we were interested in. And one night I just turned the radio, let's see what else is on. And there was a Yankees game. So I started listening, and that kind of got me in. So now I'm a big Yankees fan. Charity, yeah. I mean, mostly I'm interested in education and music, but also nature conservancy. Up in Dutchess County, where we have a house, we support nature conservation up there, and you know, that's one of the things that I'm very supportive of. I don't think there's too much more to say about that. We recently attended the gala dinner of one of these conservancies that we belong to, where we were very helpful to them in getting them accredited. You know, there's a whole accreditation process. If you're a nature conservancy, somebody has there's a group that checks your books and makes sure you spend the money that you collect from the public on what you say you're doing and all. And my wife's sister, Cindy, was very involved in that. And so we kind of put two and two together and helped this conservancy up in Dutchess County get accredited by this organization. So that's the kind of thing that that we get involved in as well. We love travel. I've mentioned these various trips to Europe. We've gone to places like Cambodia and Vietnam and Japan and Antarctica. That was fascinating. You fly down to a town called Ushuaia on the southern tip of Argentina. You get on a ship, you cross the Drake Passage, and basically Antarctica has a peninsula that sticks up toward Argentina. That's the closest and easiest point to get to, and for tourists that's basically all you can do. But to see the penguin, walk among the penguins in their natural habitat, see these glaciers and how and I'm sad to say, seeing how everything is melting now. It's just amazing to me that the politicians in this world cannot understand what's happening, and that fixing it is not something that you can do once it's happened. You know, it's a multi-year slow process that requires devotion and money and support. And I wish they would all go down there and watch the ice melt.